right, welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on this first day of April 2025 with not General, but Geoffrey Ruto, who is the Cabinet Secretary nominee for Public Service Ministry. I have Nelson Koech from Belgut. I have Gathano Moshomba from Githunguri and Anthony Kibagendi from Kitutu Chache South. We were just concluding that conversation about what General Kahariri said. But 1 year later, the Standard is talking about no answers on General Gola crash. He died on the 18th of April, so it's just a few days to that anniversary. What is the status about investigations into his death and the crash itself?
I wouldn't know. I'm told that there's a delay from the Canadian company that was to analyze the wreckage and bring the report. There hasn't been a report from that Canadian company. That's delaying, the conclusion of what exactly happened to General Ogola. We are, as many many members of the public, are interested to know what really happened to our good general. He was my personal friend. I will really, really want also to know what really happened to General Ogola. Yeah,
so the committee, you're not furnished with the details as yet?
We are not furnished as a committee. I mean, it's an opportunity.
Locally, the military is not able to conclusively establish what the challenge was?
There hasn't been any conclusion whatsoever.
Is that normal, 1 year later?
It is. I mean, it is a question that we should all ask as a country. That what will probably be happening, because that death has to be, there has to be an account of what exactly happened to the general and the other officers who perished with him. It's a concern to the country, because the apex of the military, when you lose a general, there has to be a report on exactly what happened. Okay. It still is a concern.
Okay, all right. Of course, we'll wait. We'll continue to wait. There's nothing much you can do. Parliament is also waiting for the answers of what happened to that aircraft. We'll see what progresses from there.
Well, let me also say something, Sam. That we all must start as a country thinking on what exactly to do. We have to remember that our military is very poorly resourced compared to what it is supposed to undertake. That's putting our military in very, very serious risk. We must be very sure, and these are questions that I'm just answering. As a committee, we visited most of the military installations. For instance, in Kenya Air Force in Isili, Kenya Air Force, the base in Isili. And it is concerning because there has not been enough budget to cater for maintenance of our aircraft and so on and so forth. So it is important as a country to also think that we must think on how best we can resource.
So have we done anything in the current year's budget? We had a budget last year, we have a budget in this year?
Yes, we've escalated the budget, but you see there is a budget that you do, and then there is the exchequer that is released. So the biggest problem that the military have today is the exchequer release. I can tell you, it's there, it's a public document. The military, as we sit today, has a debt of 29 billion. If you cannot resource that debt, if the exchequer is not going to be released to support that debt, then
they owe it to who?
To suppliers.
Local or foreign?
Both local and foreign suppliers. So the moment that suppliers...
What sort of supplies?
So different supplies, whether it's a spare parts for our aircrafts, whether it's capabilities, whether it's bullets. We have a bullet factory that is in Eldoret. It has its own challenges that I do not want to speak here publicly about. But I will just want to say generally that we have a whole of 29 billion. That is a concern, because today, if suppliers do not trust our military, if public cannot supply the military just because they are not being paid, then we do not have a military. That is extremely concerning. So I just want to plead, even to those who are watching me, particularly those from the Treasury, that they must provide the exchequer for our defense.
All right. I'm sure they'll hear you also when you invite them to the House. Now, last week, some developments. One gentleman who is sitting with us here was Member of Parliament from Mbeere North constituency. Now, things are changing. He was in his constituency to inspect a water project. The name is Kanyombora, but surprise, surprise, there's a gentleman who came with some good news. Let's listen to how he received the news then.
My first reaction, I was not sure whether those are true news, whether that is the case. So I was not aware at all that such a nomination can happen today. Mimi niko hapa area nasunguka hiyo Nairobi siendi. Huku tukipangana na hii wananchi wa Mbeere North tukingojea rais hamu na gamu. We will welcome him kama shujaa wa taifa letu ya Kenya. Na shangwe na nderemo.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, you were so happy even before the communication came out that you had been named. You want to tell me you didn't even have a hint that things were changing?
The truth of the matter, I was not aware that I would be nominated as a cabinet secretary that day. There were rumors, yes, from all corners.
So the question is, you didn't know it was that day, but you knew it could happen?
There were rumors. Many names were being mentioned, quite a number of names. And my name was one of those names that were being mentioned. But to be very honest, I was not aware at all. When I was in the constituency inspecting Kanyombora irrigation project with the deputy president, I was not aware. Even after we finished, he left.
He didn't tell you anything? Because the word around is that he came to deliver the news.
He never said anything.
Really?
He never told me anything. I escorted him to his helicopter. He left. And after 20 or so minutes is when I received a call from you, from Sam Gituko, saying that I'm been nominated. I was not aware. Then I asked some of my colleagues, the people we work with in the constituency, can I see what you people are saying? Then that's when I saw the communication.
But how does this sit with you? Because you're taking over from your former party boss and perhaps your political mentor, also your constituent, getting to replace him because he has fallen out with his boss. How does that sit with you?
To be nominated by the president as a cabinet secretary is a high calling. It's a very high privilege and honor, which to serve this nation. And again, I thank the president for this consideration. And I think it's a privilege to serve this nation, Sam. When we are given such an opportunity, you don't ask...
But you're aware of the circumstances in which you're coming in.
Yes, and it's true. We have different capabilities, different ways of looking at things. The only thing we can say is we thank all those who have served this nation in different capacities at different times for their effort, for their wisdom and dedication. We can't sit here, Sam, to start saying so and so. Serving the nation is an honor.
Okay.
And
have you spoken to C.S. Muturi since the nomination?
I would not want to talk about that in the national television.
So the answer is not a no. All right, let's listen to what President William Ruto said about the changes, the reason why these changes have come.
Bwana Muturi nilimpatia kazi kama mkuu wa sheria. Yeye mwenyewe alinieleza ya kwamba hii kazi kwa sababu hajakuwa practice kwa muda mrefu. Kwa sababu alitoka huko kwa kuwa magistrate, akaenda bunge, akakuwa mbunge, akakuwa speaker, akasema ile kazi kidogo inamlemea. Yeah? So nikakaa kidogo nikaona kweli amelemewa na ile kazi. Lakini makosa pengine ni yangu, nilimsindikizia, I persuaded him. Nikamwambia no, it's okay. Fanya tu hii kazi. Nafikiri haitakulemea. Lakini kwa muda nikaona kweli imemlemea. So nikasema okay, wacha nimbadilishie kazi. Nikampatia kazi ya waziri. Lakini hata wewe unajua. Sasa hapo katikati akagoma kuja katika baraza la mawaziri. Sasa mimi nataka nikuulize wewe, ni mimi nimemfuta kazi ama ni yeye alijivuta kazi? Sasa wewe ni waziri, baraza la mawaziri umeigomea. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, so he's being replaced with Geoffrey Ruku. They come from the same constituency, same village?
Not same village.
Not same village.
Same constituency.
Okay, same constituency. Mheshimiwa Gadeno Mushomba, what is the message here?
Thank you, Sam. Before I comment on the issue of my colleague being nominated and Muturi being fired, allow me to just take you back a little on matters accountability. We have just talked about the report that we've been waiting for about General Ogola's aircraft accident, fatal accident. And we are concerned that 1 year down the line, we have no report. The chair of Defense Committee has just confirmed that there are some delays with some Canadian firms that were supposed to give us the report. But I think we also need to be a bit more deeper in our concern, because we also have unaccounted many young people who disappeared between the June 25th demonstration all the way up to December this year. Actually, January this year. January this year. And we seem to be very comfortable and okay with it, because I'm not hearing noise. I'm not hearing people press, the state, the duty bearers, to account for the missing children, because there are many that are missing. I hear people say reports that 67 are missing, 57 are missing, 27 are missing. We get conflicting figures, but whatever it is, one person missing is a real reason why we should be concerned. So even as we press for the General's, for General Ogola's report, we also should press the government and duty bearers on where are our missing children. I was very excited last night when I saw the president say that he has confirmed to the nation that no more abductions under his regime. I saw him talk straight to the cameras and confirming that no more. I expected him to continue and say, no more abductions under my regime, and every other missing Kenyan must be accounted for. I expected him to tell the people of the mountain where he was purportedly addressing, but I was glad that he was speaking Kiswahili. I expected him to say, and now I order the Inspector General of Police to produce the missing Kenyans, because somebody somewhere earns a salary.
I think he said the police must take responsibility.
I thought he should order and say, I want to see the report of where are the missing Kenyans. To me, he did not satisfy me on that.
Okay.
As a head of state, as a father of the nation, I expected him to come out a bit more boldly and press for accountability. But he sounded like he was in the middle. He was not so committal. He was also on denial. Let me go to the issue of my colleague. Congratulations, Waziri. Waziri, allow me to just congratulate you.
Maybe on that issue.
Allow me to congratulate you.
Maybe on that issue, Sam, we are members of parliament, even myself until I'm sworn in. We have a very prime platform whereby we can ensure some of things which Honorable Mushomba has talked about are taken care of in a more serious way, in a manner that it will not happen to anybody in the Republic of Kenya again. I think it is important also Mudhoni Mushomba to tell us, to tell us now as a registrator, as a member of parliament, what is this we are doing on the floor of the House to ensure the complaints about abductions you are going to ensure are going to be sorted in a legal manner?
Mheshimiwa Ruku, do you know why you're going to the cabinet?
It's already...
do you know why you're going to the cabinet?
Allow me.
Sorry, Mheshimiwa Mushomba, yes. I'll come back to you. The reason why you're going to the cabinet is because CS Muturi has been dismissed, right? Or relieved of his duties. That's a better way to put it. His fallout to the president is because he raised questions about abductions. He sits in the cabinet that you're going to sit. Raised those questions, never got an answer. The president has explained and said, Aligoma. If a cabinet secretary cannot find answers, what would an MP do?
What an MP can do is that, for instance, I have forwarded a registration, a bill, before I was nominated to this position.
Yeah. What bill?
A bill in Parliament, which I don't know whether now we still go through the...
What is it about?
We still go through the
Mheshimiwa Ruku, can I give you time to find it?
Yes.
Okay, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah, because actually you took over from my submission. I almost started complaining. Sam.
Yeah.
Why was Muturi fired? Muturi was not fired because he was incompetent. We know Muturi. We have served with Muturi. I was in the last parliament. He was in the last parliament. He was a very efficient speaker for 10 years. Muturi has served as a magistrate. Muturi has served as an AG. We know Muturi very well from the backyard of the leadership of the DP and to the platforms I've mentioned. Muturi was just fired because he fired a question. Who abducted my son? All right? And even Ruku will, even when he's sworn in, he will avoid that question because he will be fired if he asks that question. Who abducted our son from our backyard? The issues that the president is running away are the issues that are making the young people and the Kenyans in general, because this Ruto must go. It's not a chorus for the young people. It's now becoming a chorus for almost everybody. All right? The issues he's avoiding, the issues that are pushing him to the corner. And he's actually getting into a corner politically. We must call a spade a spade. When abductions happened, one of the honorable members went ahead and asked a statement from the minister. It is there in record in Parliament. I was actually holding my statement when I realized she's reading hers. The Honorable Jerry Minor, Women Rep for Kirinyaga County. She has asked for a statement.
Has there been a response?
Not yet. No response.
When was this?
I think it was about...
sometime in July.
July.
Last year?
Yes.
And so far, no answer?
No answer. So when we come here and start saying, oh, whenever we bring issues on TV, we are told, go to Parliament, go to Parliament, go to Parliament. We must also tell our people what we are doing and what struggles we are going through. We don't even have to go to Parliament to remind the president. He is a parent. He is a father. He knows that our children are missing. He knows that their mothers and fathers were crying. Families are anguishing. He knows that. He's a father. He's a parent. He knows. So I expected him to commit himself and say, fine, my government is no longer going to accommodate any abduction cases. But for the missing children must be traced and found. It is very unfortunate that when a higher-ranking member of the society like Muturi sacrifices his life, career life, and approaches this issue and faces the president and faces the NIS, faces the IG and says, who abducted my son? I'm asking this question on behalf of other Kenyans who have no voice, and I have a voice. That Muturi has to be taken through that humiliation. Muturi has to be treated the way he has been treated and finally fired. And then to add salt onto the injury, the person he gave a ticket to vie for parliamentary seat in his own constituency is nominated to replace him. You see, that is actually telling Muturi, I am bruising not only your career, but I'm bruising your ego. I'm bruising your political ego.
This was based on a coalition. DP is in a coalition within Kenya Kwanza.
I am sure there were many other candidates that he didn't have to appoint Ruko. I have no problem with Ruko being nominated. By the way, I'm happy for him as a colleague. But I guess there are so many other people in Kanyabora who would have gotten this position. He already had a high-paying job, an MP with a good vehicle, a good salary, a very, very powerful MP in Parliament, by the way. He didn't have to withdraw a very good MP from his seat to make him a CS, yet there are so many other people in Embu who would have gotten the position.
I'll get back to you, Honorable Ruku. Mheshimiwa Kibagendi, what do you want to say? Please.
You know, the president, first, before he relieved Honorable Muturi of his duties, one evening during Iftar, he said his AG was incompetent. He's gone on to say he was further an incompetent CS in the Department of Public Service. The president in the past has demonstrated that his cabinet, his PSS, one time he called them to State House, and chairman of parastatals and CEOs and DGs of state corporations, and he told them he seems to understand more than they do in their various departments. What does that tell you? It tells you that the president has an affinity to appoint and attract incompetency. He's a president who is obsessed with nominating and appointing incompetent people to office. Honorable Ruku here is my very good friend that I've known for over 20 years. One thing I can tell you about Honorable Ruku, he's an excellent member of parliament in terms of legislation and representing his people. The only unfortunate thing is his obsession with this regime that has really oppressed Kenyans. And he hardly can speak truth when that time comes. I've been on TV with him before, and he continually defends even the indefensible. You've seen today he was struggling to even tell us why the Kenya Defense Forces are in our streets. And these are some of the things we are telling Kenyans. This is an incompetent government. The president has told us this before, that he has an incompetent cabinet, incompetent permanent secretaries. Yet I know there are people actually in the cabinet, there are people who are permanent secretaries and secretaries in government and various other departments who are genuinely competent. But when the president gave them a blanket cover that they are incompetent, and he demonstrates that his AG was incompetent, yes, yet I know the AG told the president that the housing levy is illegal. That is the advice he gave. But the president used his schemes to ensure that it actually passed in parliament. The AG told the president that the placement of Kenya Medical Training College students through COOPs, through the Kenya Universities and Central Placement Service, is illegal. The president forced that. It is still happening. It is against the law.
How do you know this to be a fact?
It is a fact. It is there. Even there is a court order that was given sometime in 20...
The advice. The advice is to the...
You know, like that one, like now the one for KMTC, I sit in the health committee and I'm aware of what we've demanded from the ministry. They produced that. The housing levy, the AG himself said on TV, before he was relieved of his duties, he said it is illegal and have advised us as such. He has gone on the various regulations that we passed, the acts we passed around SHA. The AG, Muturi, again, had demonstrated his reservations on certain clauses in those in the various bills that we were trying to pass in parliament. And even the Adani issue, he advised. So who is incompetent here? Who is incompetent here? We need to be genuine. Sometimes we need to ask the president the hard questions. Yesterday, I was listening to the Hekaya za Bunwasi by the president.
What is that?
When he was telling us stories, how he was asked for 10 billion.
Sorry, what is Hekaya za Bunwasi?
Hekaya za Bunwasi is stories ajaba. You know, the stories people tell in the hood. That don't really make sense.
Where were you listening? Where were you hearing them?
I was trying to make sense of what the president was saying. Because, look here.
You're talking about the interview?
Pardon?
You're talking about the TV interview?
The TV interview. I was listening to the president, and he does not realize he's talking to Kenyans. Kenyans are extremely informed. So he needs to come to that realization that he was asked for 10 billion. You know, there was a rumor. I used to be an advisor in the office of the deputy president. And there was a rumor that he had demanded from Uhuru Kenyatta 5 billion shillings for him to support Uhuru Kenyatta. We never took it serious. So the president, when he sits, he needs to know first, Kenyans don't believe him. Kenyans don't trust him. That is why we have a gazette notice.
I mean,
look here.
How do you say that as a blanket statement?
That is why we have the military.
Is it a section of Kenyans or it's everyone?
It is Kenyans across the board.
I'm sure Honorable Question.
That is why when you see people saying Ruto must go at Nyayo Stadium, you see them in Isiolo, you see that in Kisii, you see that in Kisumu, you see that it means it is the whole country. You can also see that online. It has been demonstrated, and that is why he is unable to ask for removal of the gazette notice that is giving the military an opportunity for them to be in our streets. That is why we are saying here today he has not even called for the account. We need him to be accountable for the children that have disappeared. And one thing that I picked from yesterday's interview is that the president said he has disbanded the police unit that was doing those things. That was unfortunate. So the president knows there was a police unit that was abducting and killing our children. The president knows that there was something that was happened and he never did anything. Now he's stepping into Mount Kenya, one of his biggest ethnic bases that gave him the opportunity to try and hoodwink them one more time. I know the mountain people pretty well. They are very truthful, like Rigathi Gachagua is truthful. Mountain people, when they promise you they'll give you something, when they promise you they'll give you something, they actually do. Okay. They promised Ruto they would. Now they've said he has to go, and I can tell you there's no effort. There's no effort. And I was, even when we were watching TV last night, the few who were being interviewed, they said, sasa nakuja kufungua nini?
Okay.
Is the project? Now they're struggling to try and finish the project.
We'll talk about that. What is it?
You've not given me time, Sam.
Get to you. What is it?
Sam, you know, probably as you are aware by now, I've been in School of Diplomacy, studying international relations. And when you sit with Kadoni and my brother here, talking about whether the military is a custodian of state or not, this is a very serious cause.
You know, we actually...
No. Sam, let me...
We don't have much time left.
Let me finish my point. This is very serious.
I wanted to go to...
This is very serious.
Something burning.
This is very serious because I'm saying it from a very well-researched background.
Go ahead.
You know, because this is a study which has taken 2 years in school, and I passed. I would invite Tony and Kadoni to tutorials, so that when I say what military...
No. He cannot come here and prove to the world that he's the one who knows everything. And some of us don't know.
You see, if this is not your background, if you have not invested time studying this kind of study, then for those who have invested time and resources, please... When I say something, just listen. When Kadoni talks about mass communication,
he's not going to fool us here to tell us how learned matters of
Sam, when Kadoni talks about Bachelor of Education, teaching, and mass communication, I'll sit and listen. When I talk about issues to do with military and how it plays out in national issues, and outside the boundaries, I would ask Tony.
I actually thought
I would ask Tony and my brother and my sister. Yes, listen. Number two.
Quickly.
Number two. And this, I think, I will hand over when I'm successfully feted to my brother, Koech. I came up with a bill which is already in Speaker's office, starting the processes, legislative processes, on prevention of enforced disappearance bill, 2024. Okay. Because we are very good in lamenting out there, lamentation, very good. But when they come to action, no one wants to invest time, you know, burn the midnight oil in coming up with...
The bill is 2024 or 2025?
2025, sorry, 2025. In coming up with a registration, which may help stop whatever we are thinking is agitating us.
All right.
So that's what I wanted to mention. I think is very important.
That's fine, Mheshimiwa.
But when you say something very serious, Sam, and then you are engaged in a pedestrian kind of discourse, then you just keep quiet.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be a pedestrian in matters which you have invested resources.
I just wanted to note that the ministry you're going to has had a very high turnover of CSs. Actually, all your former predecessors, 3 of them, are no longer ministers. Aisha Jumwa, Moses Kuria, Justin Muturi. So you're taking over a ministry with quite a bit of history, but I wish you all the best as you go through the meeting. Let's listen to what Rigathi Gachagua said about the tour of President William Ruto to the mountain.
Si umesikia rais anakuja hapa? Anakuja anakuja kufanya nini? Sisi tunataka kumwambia William Ruto, wewe unakuja hapa Mlima Kenya, ukuwe mtu ya kuongea ukweli. project zile zote ziko hapa katika mlima ni zile zilianzishwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Hakuna project hata moja yako. Kwa hivyo wewe ukija hapa useme project umefanya ni gani. Zile project ziko ni za Uhuru Kenyatta, umekataa kumaliza. Lakini usikuje kudanganya watu ya mlima Kenya.
Nani alipeleka Rigathi nyumbani? Nani ameharibu uchumi ya Kenya? Ni nani ataenda nyumbani 2027? Wale wanasema Ruto must go. Ruto must go.
Sasa ikanifikia mimi.
Okay, so that is the president with the member of parliament for Kajiado North, Mheshimiwa Ngogoyo. And so you were saying that the president has done nothing in Mount Kenya region, but also the president spoke about his former deputy and said that he never defended projects, but also demanded some 10 billion shillings so that he could defend him or mobilize for him in the mountain.
Sasa ikanifikia mimi. Mimi sasa. Oh, unajua, mimi naweza kukufanya one-term president. Usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, nahitaji bilioni 10. Wewe unajua bilioni 10, Bwana Waweru?
Labda zilikuwa za nini rais? Bilioni
10 ndio niende niongee na watu ya mlimani, you know, ni kupangie siasa, sijui nifanye nini. Mimi nikaona hapa nikamwambia I will not do it. Wacha nimalize. So nikamwambia hii haiwezekani.
Of course, he was laying the foundation, distancing himself from the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, that he had nothing to do with it. It is the members of parliament who had beef with the former deputy president and eventually saw the impeachment through. Mheshimiwa Koech, why did the president find it so important to explain some of these questions, including such now how do we call it? Is it an allegation? You see, it's the president saying it, 10 billion shillings. Like, who even fact-checks this? Who knows whether it's true or not?
First, listening to the president there, you feel his pain of the kind of person that he has picked. Actually, you play the two clips. You notice that the former deputy president is a very bitter man, extremely bitter. Bitter even for himself, for his own health. You fear for him when he speaks, because it's not what I will speak. I mean, it needs a lot of therapy for that gentleman to come back to who he was, because he's totally out of his element. I'll say this, Sam, the former deputy president, and the president did indicate that, first of all, he was rejected by all the members of parliament when it was put into a vote in Karen, when they were picking who was to be the deputy, who was to deputize him. Yep. He only got 5 votes out of the 27 that were cast. But against that, the president decided, no, let me have this gentleman as my deputy president. And I think the president is to blame, really, for having picked someone that he had not interacted with for long, and he really didn't understand him. And later only to realize the kind of a person he is. I will not put it past the former deputy president to have demanded for 10 billion. His appetite for money is huge. Okay?
How do you know that?
Because of other cases. I mean, he had cases before that he had, he had corruption cases from Nyeri County, where his brothers
confirmed.
Yeah, where his brother served. All I'm saying is that they were not confirmed, but most of the cases point there was some money that was even frozen by our courts that were believed to have been proceeds of corruption. There are many cases from Bungoma.
Allow me to say something. Sorry, you sat here.
Allow me to say.
Just hold on.
Defended him.
Yes.
So let to disrupt you. But you sat here and told me that President Uhuru Kenyatta was fighting the leaders in Kenya Kwanza, including Rigathi Gachagua then. Now you're saying the case was right.
No, I'm actually apologizing to former President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he was right. This is not at the context where, if you saw it that time, he sounded like a very genuine man. But now that he's been unmasked, you realize that, no, this man, there's a problem with him. Look, for instance, he is saying that the president is going to launch the projects that were initiated by the former president. But during his campaign, and I wish you can play the clips, he said that there was not a single project that Uhuru Kenyatta was launched. I attended so many campaign rallies in central Kenya. At all the rallies, our rallying call was that the people of Mount Kenya had been deprived by Uhuru Kenyatta of their right to development. And Rigathi Gachagua was brutal and lethal in that campaign against Uhuru Kenyatta. Now he's saying that the president is going to launch the projects he had said whenever initiated by Uhuru Kenyatta during the campaign.
So he's going against his word.
He's going against his word.
And you're going against your word.
I'm not going against my word. All I am saying is that I am apologizing to Uhuru Kenyatta, realizing the kind of a person Rigathi Gachagua is. I can tell you, Rigathi Gachagua is very risky for this nation today. And I'm happy that, somehow the courts might not allow him to run. Because if this is a kind, and this is a temperature, this is a kind, and this is the attitude of a gentleman who might rise, God forbid. Can you imagine he was just a heartbeat away from the presidency? This is a very toxic man. As he speaks about the projects that the president has launched in Mount Kenya, can Rigathi Gachagua show the people of the mountain one single project he has initiated himself? Just one single project, other than the venom that he, every weekend, it's now been reduced to at least a fortnight. It used to be every weekend, every Sunday, he was going to church, and now Lesapita said, no, you can't use the pulpit to insult. Otherwise, there's nothing. Let me tell you, Sam, and I've said it before, and I will continue saying, there are politicians, a new crop of politicians that I really admire in this country. The likes of, particularly from Mount Kenya, the likes of Gathoni, people who speak about policies. When you look at Gathoni speaking about coffee, and trying to make sure the prices of coffee is stabilized in Mount Kenya, you get happy as a young person, because that is the kind of person that you want.
Was saying
but there's nothing that Gachagua said. All he was
on
doing
coffee, Gachagua was speaking the same.
Saying, he never walked the talk. I was with Rigathi Gachagua in Parliament. Look at the Hansard Honorable Kibagendi, and I challenge you today. Rigathi Gachagua never, ever spoke in that house in Parliament.
And
all he did was to go to TV shows in Inoro and all these other stations, local vernacular stations. He is not a leader to take the country forward. People who would want...
You knew that
allow me
when you
to say
campaigned
that.
for him to be deputy president, didn't
I
you?
never campaigned for him to be deputy president.
He defended him on this.
I campaigned. Honorable Kibagendi, I allowed you to speak. Allow me to speak.
Just carry on.
Okay? And a lot of what Kibagendi actually spoke about was totally nauseating. I didn't like anything of what he said. In fact, you should have put him to check when he said that the president disbanded a police unit that was...
he said that.
Yes. But the president did that when he joined in, when he came into power. He said it existed before in Nairobi area. And when he was sworn in, he said, no, I will disband this unit that was domiciled in Nairobi area. Let me go back to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Okay? If you go to the Hansard, Honorable Kibagendi, you will realize that the former Deputy President never spoke about the tea issues of Mount Kenya, never spoke about milk prices in Mount Kenya, never spoke about guaranteed minimum returns. In fact, the most vocal at that time was Honorable Moses Kuria and the likes of Gathoni, who were with me in last Parliament.
So did that make him a bad deputy president or a good deputy president for not speaking about certain issues?
I will tell you something about the character of Rigathi Gachagua. He is brutal with words, exceptionally brutal with words, but a very dishonest fellow and a very bitter person.
So that time...
He is very toxic for the country. Because...
No, you said that already.
Let me say this as I conclude. What the president is going to do in the mountain, and let us give it to the president.
No, I'm not taking the mic away. I just wanted to reference here, because the president, when he was naming his running mate, he said that he's an astute debater with prodigious persuasive ability. I don't know what prodigious means. A fantastic grassroots mobilizer, a disciplined and tireless political operator, a successful elected politician and businessman, a principled politician of tremendous resilience and steely resolve, a fearless fighter for the right causes, and an indefatigable champion of the betrayed, persecuted, downtrodden, the despised, the ignored, and the marginalized. A living example of a true hustler who rose from the hardship of the aftermath of our freedom struggle to the pinnacle of professional, business, and political success. Was this a sales pitch of the reality?
It was a sales pitch, I would say.
So the president misled the country?
No. The president did not mislead the country. He had not observed the character of Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua is like a chameleon. He changes. And he really sings your tune when he's up to something. I can tell you that gentleman, even to himself, even the people of the mountain today, for as much as, they show up when he comes for a function, they really like him and they cheer him. If they were asked today to pick Rigathi Gachagua as a president, I can tell you, they will not pick him. because they know the kind of a person Rigathi Gachagua is. So for all these things that he's saying about the president and all other things, I mean, it's given to him that he's been impeached, and it pains him that, you know, possibly the president might have played a role in his impeachment. And you know, the president yesterday was explained why he had nothing to do with the impeachment. So it pains Rigathi Gachagua, and you can see he had, what role did the president have?
He did not mobilize MPs.
He did not mobilize MPs.
He did not call anyone asking them to sign their signatures.
He didn't need to mobilize the MPs. Yeah, the president did indicate, yes.
He did not call anyone asking them to append their signatures.
I wouldn't know. I'm not the president, Sam. I wouldn't know. Okay. The president never called me.
At least that's true.
The president never called me.
Hey, gentlemen.
Allow me to finish as I conclude. Yes. Let me just tell you this. And let me talk about, you know, what the visit of the president, in 1 second, the visit of the president entails, so that for people to appreciate. We are all members of parliament. Yeah. The president, Mount Kenya, in terms of roads that were paid, the pending bills that were paid last week, about 60 billion to 70 billion that were paid to contractors for them to go back to site. Do you know Mount Kenya is taking 42 billion of that money? My county, Kericho County, where I come from, for instance, has an allocation of only 800 million.
800 million?
Yes.
And Kisii has 0.
Yeah, so even as we look at it, let us be very fair to the president. When he goes to the mountain to initiate projects, to make sure that the projects continue, to make sure that, for instance, in Kiambu, where Gadoni comes from, the stabilization from coffee that was selling at 48 shillings, it's now selling at 101. Those are some of the things that we must allow the president.
Can I say something?
I really wish you could give me time, but let me allow my other colleagues to say something.
The gracious lady.
The gracious lady to say something. But I had a lot to say about the mountain.
Gentlemen, I have taken over the show.
Mushomba, the president's visit to Mount Kenya region, there's a bit of hostility, but of course, there's been an effort by some of your fellow leaders to mobilize the ground for this tour. What should you expect?
To be fair to the viewers that are watching us and following us, I think I would want to dwell more on why the president is coming. Forget about the political dramas around the presidency visit, because of course we are politicians and we will always want to outdo each other. Why is the president coming to Mount Kenya? Because he's the head of state and he must be seen to support every region, every population of this country. So he's welcome in Mount Kenya. But why is he coming? He's coming to justify the perception, to unjustify the perception that people have that he does not deliver, he promises and does not deliver, he starts, initiates projects and does not follow up, so he's coming to follow up. I have a lot of concern with the project that is purportedly coming to commission. I'm sure you know that the president is accused by the people of Mount Kenya, where I come from, my voters of Githunguri, accuses the president of being not truthful. Whenever he promises an item or a deliverable, he fails to achieve. He tries to justify. For example, last night I heard him say the reason why he has not completed the Nithi Bridge, which he said he's going to construct in 100 days, is because he had to consult Kera and Kura and Kenha. And you know, as a head of state, you can't come on TV and tell me that you have been consulting your lieutenants on constructing a bridge 8 months down the promise you give. So to me, President Ruto is coming to defend himself from the accusations of promising deliverables that are not achievable. I was very, very, very disappointed with the president last night when he spoke about issues that are not true. Fallacies, things that are not completely true. When he said that he has invested in the milk industry, please, Sam, remember, I come from Githunguri and we are one of the best, actually the biggest producers of milk at the subsistence level. When he says that he has stabilized the milk prices to 53 shillings, yet we are being paid 47, 48 shillings, and he said you can call every other cooperative society, milk cooperative society, and confirm that all farmers are getting 53. What do you think my milk farmers in Githunguri were saying? The president must know, like Mheshimiwa Kibagedi said, he is talking to the nation. He's not talking to Akinaroko when they're having a cup of tea and they can joke around. Whatever comes out of his mouth must be credible, believable, and provable. When he said that the reason why coffee prices have gone up is because he has stabilized, He has stabilized what? He has promised Coffee Cherry Fund to fill to 6 billion. Has he filled? The only money he has ever given to Coffee Advanced Cherry Kit is only 2 billion. He promised 6 billion everywhere, on television, on pressers, in State House.
Where was that money to come from?
It was supposed to come from Treasury to go to KPCU account.
Through a budget, right?
Yes, and we allocated the money. We allocated 4 billion out of 6 billion.
And?
He only put 2.2 billion in a commercial bank account and bought Treasury bonds without the consent of farmers, without coming back to Parliament to ask for permission. That is why I was getting nauseated when the president was speaking. He cannot come and tell farmers, I stabilized through Coffee Cherry Fund. And he knows very well where he put the money. It is not the farmer's account. He knows very well. He promised 80 shillings per kilo of Cherry Advance Fund. He only gives farmers 40 shillings.
Did he give a timeline?
He had already confirmed. Actually, he did a cabinet meeting. He came out through a presser and said, today's cabinet meeting has approved that we are going to stabilize coffee farming by injecting 6 billion into the Coffee Cherry Advance Fund. He has not done it. Yesterday, he went on television and said the reason why coffee prices have improved is because he has paid debts. Which debts? He promised to pay debts, waivers for coffee farmers, but he has not done it. The only coffee factory I know, he sent an MP with some money. It was in Madeira. He sent the Honorable Eric Wamumbi to a certain coffee society in Madeira to take money for waiver. 3 months down the line, the farmers were deducted that money. It was not a grant. The farmers started complaining. You were told it is a waiver. Now you are deducting us. So the president must know when he's talking to the nation, he is talking as the president of the Republic of Kenya with all the respect, with all the credibility he ought to carry.
Okay.
When the president comes and says, hold on,
as far as coffee is concerned,
please allow me to finish because you have to know.
Actually finishing.
I have information
No, I think
on
it's not fair.
Kepogo Farmers
It is not
Cooperative Society.
It's not fair. I'm not going to allow
you
keep on cutting me.
She will finish, then you correct it.
Allow me to finish.
If it's a
you
you correct it.
Sam, is not fair for Kadhoni to write to the nation. As far as matters coffee is concerned, when I have evidence on the prices of coffee.
I'm not talking about Kefogo. I have not even spoken about Kefogo. I have not referred to Kefogo.
What is that?
I have referred to Madeira.
Okay.
Let the Mheshimiwa get his facts right. And also, please respect
they are here.
Please, Mheshimiwa.
Does it mean that
about
Kefogo
and the coffee factories.
He seems to be knowing everything.
Coffee factories, 5 of them, and the prices.
No. The prices are good. I am celebrating my farmers because the prices are good.
How much is coffee in Githunguri?
Because of the international demand.
It is because, one, of governance issues that have been sorted from the factory level.
So
like for my constituency, the reason why, by the way, let me tell you, the same price we sold coffee at the auction for this main crop, it's the same prices we sold in the previous 2 years. Let us be honest with each other.
That's not
the
true.
The only change that has happened, let us be honest with each other. I am a coffee farmer. I receive money on every main crop. I will tell you. Hold on a minute. What is sold at the auction, the money that is announced at the auction, the difference may be maybe $30 to $25. What has changed? It is the governance structure.
So how much is a kilo of coffee being paid?
Hold on a minute, Sam. Let me just submit this. What has changed is the governance structures that were brought by the coffee reforms. Are we clear up to there? The money that was disappearing through millers is now going to the farmer. The money that was disappearing through brokers and marketers is now going back to the farmer. That is why farmers are celebrating. And that I must clap for the government of Kenya for making sure that governance structures at the factory level has changed.
Very good.
So the president has delivered on that.
And Rigiji was instrumental in this.
And I was part of the reforms.
So the president has delivered on that. Has he or not?
Sorry?
Has the president delivered on that?
On that, I said I must clap.
Okay.
No. The question is...
Hold on. Why are you becoming the moderator of the show? You are not the moderator of the show, Mheshimiwa.
If we bang tables all of us...
No. Why are you keeping on interjecting me?
Mheshimiwa, please finish your point.
Thank you very much. Ask Mheshimiwa. Protect me from Mheshimiwa Ruto.
You know,
he's a tall guy sometimes.
No, he's sitting.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right. So it has even made me lose my trail of thought. On governance, this government has helped farmers to receive what is due to them.
Okay.
The other thing that this government has done is to bring a system where the coffee buyer sends money to the coffee seller who is the farmer directly. It is called Direct Settlement System, DSS. That is where the money was disappearing through. Those were the loopholes this government has been able to seal. And something good must be appreciated. But the president has not delivered on his promises to coffee farmers. That we must agree.
Okay. All right. Mheshimiwa Kibugendi, I want you to have the final word because you're running out of time.
I truly appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
And what Honorable Mshomba has spoken about the reforms in the coffee sector is something that has been consistent, that has been there for some time. And it is one thing that I want to appreciate her. Even Rigiji was part of this, and various other people, and even including the president, who sanctioned for a task force that actually ensured the brokers are taken out of the chain that they were involved in stealing from farmers. The other thing I would like to say is that as a country, we are at crossroads, and the president needs to know when he speaks to the country, while he's struggling to demonstrate confidence, he sounds very, very arrogant when he talks to the rest of us. We need to see a president that is weaving the country. I can tell you from what I saw yesterday, and when he says on TV, on top of vehicles that wale tunashindana na hao wataendesha, you know, those are demonstrations that he is not confident. He is desperate.
What was the full quote?
If I say it on TV, it will be unfortunate, because he said about people using, having running stomach sometime when he was doing his campaigns. The desperation, how is it true when he's desperate? he's literally let go of his entire government. How confident is he when he's given out his entire government, which we are happy about it. What we want to tell Kenyans is this: in 2027, we have to fix this country.
Okay.
What Honorable Kariri, the General Kariri spoke about, we must respect the Constitution. We have to wait for 2027. And when we wait for 2027, we must demonstrate that actually Ruto must go through the ballot. And that is going to happen. And the people who are coming to fix this country, including Dr. Fred Matiang'i, need to understand the challenges that Kenyans are facing today. Okay. We let the government continue and the state continue sponsoring candidates here and there to try and split the votes that...
State-sponsored candidates, who are those?
Yeah, like Maraga, we know. that is why DCCs are all over his...
How do you say he's state-sponsored? He has already...
Look at the people. Look at the people who accompany him. They are former UDA candidates, former Ford Kenya candidates.
Are they Kenyans?
They are Kenyans. And he has the right to actually contest for this seat.
All right, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much.
But I also ask Kenyans to remain peaceful.
To remain peaceful, thank you. Important. Feedback at Citizen TV Kenya. Samgi took the abstract to use the Citizen daybreak on what Kenyans are saying this morning in regards to the two conversations we've had. Eric Warren, you're saying that Ruto Must Dash is a movement driven by the frustrations of many Kenyans who feel that President Ruto has failed to deliver on his promises. It is a democratic expression of the people's dissatisfaction with the rising cost of living. Sir Nixon Dugire, there is dire need for all our leaders to understand the Constitution very well, understand the laws of our land very well, to eliminate guesswork. Leadership wanatupeleka hasara. Franco, the military role is to protect the nation, not to play referee in political battles. Involving KDF in local politics sets a dangerous precedence, undermining democracy, risking impartiality, and inviting military interference in civilian affairs. And Agomba Steve, you're saying that Honorable Ruku should know that what goes around comes around. He may be obsessed with the regime, but just as today, the best AG is seen to have been incompetent during his time, the same way he, Ruku meaning, will become incompetent once not helpful. Ukiona mwenzako akinyolewa, I think chakotia maji, something like that. Bobo Tieno, General Kahariri's remarks is a dangerous warning. As a military personnel, they are not supposed to lean on either political side unless we are banana republic or going dictatorship ruling. Those are the feedback that we've received this morning. Mheshimiwa Ruku, you had a right of reply from what Mheshimiwa Gathoni Mushomba was saying in 30 seconds.
I think I'm happy that finally Honorable Gathoni has agreed that he did. William Ruto's administration has played a critical role in ensuring we have better prices, not only for coffee, but also tea and other commodities like milk. That's what I really wanted her to appreciate, that there is a great effort which has been put in place by President Ruto in making the prices of this commodity, which are very dear to the people of Mount Kenya region, that the prices have improved. That is what I wanted, and I have evidence to taper in that regard.
Thank you so much. You know, this morning I've heard interesting things. I've heard the word Hekaya za Bunwasi. I've heard about spirits, degrees and qualifications. I've heard about diplomacy. Some people are toxic. I've heard about a statement or an address was a sales pitch. I've also heard that some sentiments are nauseating. My name is Sam Gituko. See you again some other time. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Ruku, Mheshimiwa Koech, Mheshimiwa Wamushomba, and Mheshimiwa Kibagendi. And all the best. When are you being vetted? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yes,
sorry?
Next week on Monday.
Anza kujipanga?
Anza kujipanga.
Mutamlima, eh?
Tunaweza mlima. Achunge sana.
Nitamlima kama mimi nitamlima mbaya sana. Lazima tusukume yeye.